I am delighted to be joined by Richard Bolstad today. Thank you, Richard, for carving some time out to talk to me today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Karen. That's great. Yeah.
You're welcome. So, Richard, you are presenting at the 2024 NLP conference. You are presenting virtually, given that you are usually residing in New Zealand. And your topic is healing our collective story, which sounds beautiful and very enticing. So please do start by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your presentation.
Sure. Well, I'm an NLP trainer and trainer of coaches, and I do quite a bit of work around the world. And so I'm very aware, I guess, of the political crises that the world faces at present and the economic crisis. So rather than thinking, oh dear, that's a problem, my interest has been in thinking, well, how can we use NLP not just to help individual people, but to help us collectively and to help us deal with the collective distress that sometimes is behind these major events around the world. So that's what I'm teaching in this transcendence process. Yeah.
Wonderful. That, I mean, and well needed at the moment, like you say. So, so what practical learnings could delegates take away from your session, Richard?
Yeah, so firstly, I'm going to explain, teach, and get people to practice the transcendence process, which was developed by my wife, Yulia Kurasheva. And this process I actually introduced people to briefly on the last conference.
Good.
And got, I think, a really good reception from people.
Yes.
So people learn how to guide someone through that process, which is focusing specifically on collective distress and collective healing and finding collective resources from our past. So they'll get that ability. Secondly, this gets you past a challenge that I think NLP has sometimes had, which is the challenge of only thinking about individual goals. So it's a very cultural specific thing. I get it that NLP came from America, and individual goals are a great thing. It's that sometimes there is an additional component to what people would want to change in their life, and that is the component that comes from their background, from their family, from their community. And we know a lot more about how that background actually is expressed, genetically and so on. So I want to show people how to guide people to use that NLP idea that everything is made up of systems to actually deal with the systems that are behind their own thinking, rather than just pretend that they are already a unique individual and they don't have to pay attention to anyone else. So that's the second thing I think that people will get this. And the other thing is a link to a lot of other processes, psychotherapeutic processes that are around the world at present, which deal with collective trauma. I mean, this is a kind of a hot issue. A lot of people, we're not the only ones who thought about this. A lot of people have been thinking about this. So people who do things like IFS, internal family systems, will recognize the links that we're making in this process, I think.
Brilliant, brilliant. Right, it's going to be a very powerful session, I think. So is there anything that delegates can do before your session so that they can get a deeper understanding or deeper experience during your session?
Absolutely, there is. I think the most important thing they could do is to take a little time to think about what influences on their life have come from their family, and what influences on their life have come from I know I'm trained as a psychotherapist, so this is a question that psychotherapists constantly focus on. But in NLP, we don't really focus on what cultural influences and what family influences might be affecting things. To give you an example, last year when I was doing this process in the online conference, someone talked about the fact that the issue they happened to choose was overeating. And they had an epiphany while they were doing the process and realized that their family had come over from Ireland at the time of the famine, at the time of the political actions that caused so much starvation in Ireland. And of course, that fear of starvation has been kind of spread down through their family and affected them. Another person in the same session had a realization that her issue was about being aggressive. And these people did not think about this before they started. They didn't even know I was going to do this collective thing. They chose an issue. Her issue was being aggressive. And then halfway through, she has this aha, realizing that her ancestors had to struggle against slavery. And that, of course, being a warrior people was not just a kind of a cool choice or something. They didn't just see a Hollywood movie and decide to be warriors. They were actually fighting for survival. And so thinking about how your own past might be relevant is really useful. If you want to, there are several books about this that you can get online. The Transcendence Process Guidebook is an unashamed advertisement for that. But if you go to my site, transformations.org.nz, then you can download it in another form, so for free. So so I recommend people read before if you really want to maximize your learning about it.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. So so Richard, what inspired you to want to present at the conference?
Well, look, there couldn't be a better fit for this process of dealing with international issues and cross-cultural issues, you know. I'm already teaching in a lot of different places. I'm teaching in 2 days' time in Egypt, and then after that, my next training is in Ukraine online, sadly or thankfully. And of course, I can get these things out to people like that. But professionally, there's nothing like the NLP International Conference. There really isn't. And this, I think, is an important place for us as NLP trainers and practitioners, as coaches, to link into the latest things around the field and also to develop the sense of community. It's the positive side of this transcendence process, really. It's this developing a collective sense of resourcefulness. That's really what the conference does for me.
Yeah, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. So, so to remind people watching, Richard is presenting at the virtual element of the NLP conference in 2024. And to fit in with the time zones, you'll be presenting on Saturday, the 10th of February at 9 AM GMT, because the clocks haven't gone forward by then. And as I said, your presentation is around healing our collective story. So thank you so much for taking time out today, Richard, to be with us. And I'm really looking forward to your presentation in February. It's absolutely pulling up my heartstrings.
Thank you. And thank you so much for making this available to people. Yeah.